Welcome back to The Explainer. Now, if you caught our last deep dive into the King Cobra, you might be sitting there thinking you've already seen the absolute pinnacle of venomous reptiles. Well, go ahead and forget everything you learned about the cobra. Seriously, because today we're looking at an animal that strikes faster, hits harder, and kicks off a physiological countdown that is frankly just terrifying to understand. We're talking about the infamous Black Mamba, and we're going to break down exactly what happens inside your body the second it strikes you, minute by agonizing minute, all based on real medical case studies.
So to really get why this snake is so unbelievably dangerous, we have to talk about its attack strategy first. Yes, the King Cobra has a devastating bite, but it usually bites and just holds on. It delivers one single, very calculated strike. But the Black Mamba, it does the exact opposite. It strikes incredibly fast and it strikes often. One bite becomes two, sometimes even three, literally in the blink of an eye. It just keeps biting, pumping fresh venom into your system with absolutely every single strike.
And it's not just the frequency of those bites we need to worry about, it's the sheer volume. Think about this. Just 2 single drops of this venom are enough to kill a fully grown adult. Just 2 drops. But a single Black Mamba attack, that can inject up to 20 drops. That is literally 10 times the lethal dose, all delivered in a fraction of a second.
Okay, so let's look at this incredibly tiny number, 0.341. Specifically, that's 0.341 milligrams per kilogram. Now, in the world of toxicology, you gotta remember that the smaller the number, the more terrifying the venom. Why? Because this tiny number represents the exact fatal dose required to actually end a life.
But before we get into the microscopic, minute-by-minute breakdown of what happens to your body, we really need to set the stage as to why this reptile is widely considered Africa's most feared snake. I mean, just picture this. It's the fastest land snake on Earth. It can move at speeds that make it almost impossible to outrun in short bursts. Add in the fact that these guys can grow up to 14 feet long across sub-Saharan Africa, and wow, you've got a truly formidable predator on your hands.
Now, there's a really common misconception here that we should probably clear up. You'd assume a Black Mamba has, well, jet black scales, right? Actually, their skin is usually more of an olive or a dusty gray color. The terrifying name actually comes from the pitch black warning it gives you right before it strikes. When it's cornered, it opens those jaws wide and reveals this inky jet black interior. It's basically nature's ultimate stop sign. And trust me, ignoring it comes with a very heavy price.
Bringing it back to the hard science for a second, researchers measure all of this using the LD50 standard. That's the scientific term for the lethal dose required per kilogram of body weight that we talked about a minute ago. And with the Mamba's extraordinarily low LD50 dose, we are looking at a remarkably, almost terrifyingly efficient venom. So when you combine that extreme potency with the massive volume it injects, plus its habit of delivering multiple lightning-fast strikes, you arrive at this staggering figure. We're talking an estimated 30,000 deaths every single year across sub-Saharan Africa from snake bites, and the Black Mamba is a massive contributor to that number. So, let's look at the ticking clock. We are going to do a minute-by-minute breakdown of exactly what happens. Once that venom breaches your bloodstream, what actually happens? Well, it is an agonizingly rapid descent from the very moment of the bite straight into a full-blown medical crisis. It's a crazy fast progression. We're talking 0 to 10 minutes for the first symptoms, a total physical collapse at the 45-minute mark, and ultimate fatality anywhere from 7 to 15 hours later if you don't get treatment. It all kicks off at minute 0. Right at the exact moment of the bite, you might actually be pretty surprised to find that the local pain is often way less dramatic than a bite from, say, a viper. You'd probably just feel a mild burn and maybe notice some slight swelling. But do not let that deceive you. The real danger isn't hanging around at the bite site. It's already bypassed those local tissues and is spreading like wildfire through your entire system. The really crucial point here is that this venom is uniquely terrifying because it doesn't just go after one system in your body. It simultaneously wages war on 2 completely different fronts. On one hand, it's highly neurotoxic, meaning it attacks the nervous system and causes this descending paralysis. But on the other hand, it's also cardiotoxic, meaning it attacks your heart muscle directly and can trigger rapid cardiac arrest. Basically, your body gets forced into a 2-front war that it just isn't equipped to win. By the 10-minute mark, the venom is fully taking hold, and doctors are looking out for some very specific major red flags. A victim will suddenly feel this overwhelming wave of drowsiness, and it's accompanied by a really strange, distinct, metallic taste right in the back of their mouth. When those 2 things hit at the same time, medical professionals know for sure that the neurotoxins have officially entered the game. You're also going to see the patient's pupils constricting, and they'll start complaining that their vision is getting blurry. Right after that, you might start experiencing what's called paresthesia. It's this intensely uncomfortable tingling sensation just creeping across your skin, almost like thousands of tiny needles. That right there is the physical sensation of your nervous system actively under attack. And honestly, the absolute most terrifying part of this entire ordeal, throughout all these escalating symptoms, you remain completely conscious. You are fully 100% aware as your nervous system just systematically fails around you. As we push between the 10 and 45-minute marks, things get even worse. Your autonomic nervous system, the part that controls all your involuntary body functions, takes a heavy hit. This brings on severe nausea, massive sweating, and really agonizing abdominal pain. And visually, the paralysis starts becoming incredibly obvious. Speech gets completely slurred, it becomes incredibly difficult to swallow, and the body actually loses its gag reflex entirely.
This is also exactly where something called ptosis sets in. That's the heavy, uncontrollable drooping of the eyelids. It happens because the venom is actively blocking the motor end plate. Think of that as the literal connection point between your nerves and your muscles. So your brain is sitting there, desperately and frantically sending the signal to keep your eyes open. But the muscles, they just simply aren't receiving the message anymore. Once we hit the really advanced stages of paralysis, medical professionals are looking for something grimly referred to as head drop. It's exactly what it sounds like. The muscles in the neck become so profoundly weakened by the neurotoxins that they quite literally cannot support the weight of the victim's own head anymore. It just sort of falls forward onto the chest. It's a very stark, very clear sign that the venom has taken full control of the muscular system. Now, here's a fact that actually surprises a lot of people. A complete bodily collapse can happen in just 45 minutes. Your legs give out, you absolutely cannot stand. But death itself, that isn't instantaneous. Without any medical intervention, the typical time frame until the end is an agonizingly slow 7 to 15 hours.
So, why does it take that long? Well, it comes down to full respiratory paralysis. If you reach this late stage without the aid of a medical ventilator, that descending paralysis finally hits your chest cavity. Your diaphragm, the key muscle responsible for pulling air into your lungs, simply stops getting those nerve signals. It completely stops working. And, well, without a machine there to breathe for you, you will suffocate.
But hey, remember what we talked about earlier? This venom is a total double-edged sword. Because it's also cardiotoxic, there's a chance you might not even make it to the respiratory paralysis stage. There are actual documented hospital cases showing patients arriving in full-blown cardiac arrest within just 20 minutes of getting bitten. The heart just stops. That cuts off oxygen to the brain, which can cause severe brain injury while you are lying there completely paralyzed. Okay, so with all of this happening, the obvious question is, can you actually survive this? Let's talk about first aid and the medical protocols that can save a life.
With a timeline that terrifying, you're probably wondering if survival is even a possibility. And the answer is yes, but every single second counts. The absolute first step, keep the victim completely still. Any movement speeds up your lymphatic system, which just pumps the venom faster through your body. Step 2 is a desperate, full-speed rush to the hospital so they can get to Step 3, administering the specific antivenom. And finally, Step 4 is critical respiratory support. In the most extreme cases, doctors might even hook a patient up to an ECMO machine. That's a machine that physically pumps and oxygenates your blood outside the body, essentially doing the work of the heart and lungs while the victim fights for their life.
But there is actually some incredibly hopeful news mixed in with all this. If you can get the antivenom and the breathing support in time, this horrifying paralysis is completely reversible. The venom doesn't melt or permanently destroy your muscles. It just acts like a temporary roadblock for your nerve signals. So once the antivenom flushes through and neutralizes those toxins, those roadblocks are lifted and your full muscle connection actually returns. And the science of treating these bites is always evolving. It's fascinating, really. A recent 2025 study published in the Toxins Journal revealed that when we neutralize the main, highly dominant venom toxins, it can sometimes pull back the curtain and actually unmask hidden secondary toxins that we couldn't see before. By studying those newly revealed symptoms, scientists are actively figuring out how to build even better, way more comprehensive antivenoms for the future. Now, it is really important to remember that despite its super fearsome reputation, the Black Mamba actually strongly prefers to avoid humans entirely. It pretty much only strikes when it feels trapped or cornered. But if it does strike, its venom is undeniably devastating. And that leaves us with one incredible question. If the King Cobra and the Black Mamba are this terrifying, what snake's venom is considered the absolute most lethal on Earth? Well, you'll have to join us for our next explainer, where we are going to dive straight into the venom of the inland taipan. You definitely won't want to miss that one.